Oh yes, boys, yes, we are back again, and we are doing another album reaction today. Too easy. I am keen as fuck. This is Tim Hecker, who is a bloody highly esteemed, bloody highly rated electronic artist, and I'm just keen as fuck. It's been a while since he released an album. I've always been fairly lukewarm to his material, but I have liked it in the past, and always some interesting textures. So let's just jump straight into this one, boys. I'm just keen, man, and yeah, let's just go. Let's just go. Whoa! Whoa! Fucking eerie already, man. Like, proper eerie, mate. Proper fucking eerie, mate. Oh, I'm such a fucking goose. Interesting synth line here. Like, I like how it's building as well. There's a definite sort of building element here. I feel like some of these textures are so cavernous, man, but like in a really good way. There's so much mood to this. There's so much atmosphere. To me, this is a really good opener because it's such a good mood setter for the album. It just really ties everything together in a way. Ooh, what's that synth line, mate? I really like this synth line coming in like this. Just sort of hinted at the beginning that it was gonna come in, but it just sort of blended in perfectly, like another texture here that's just worked in so cohesively. And it just sounds sexy, man. Gives this a bit of body. Just really impressed with how the opener here naturally evolved. Just, you know, the song structure, every synth line, every texture just worked in so well, man. It almost feels like a Swans track at points. I love these fucking textures. Oh, I can tell I'm gonna love this song, hey. Yes, man. So many of these textures are working so well. I feel like I'm on an alien planet. I feel like I'm in a Mass Effect universe, basically. It just feels so futuristic, man. I don't think I've heard an album that sounds like this yet. Another fascinating song, like honestly so fascinating. I wish that it kept with that Eastern sounding pinging woodwind instruments right at the beginning there, but the tittering looping synth line there with those bright notes really was all I needed for the main body of that song. I don't feel like this song was quite as strong as the last two, just because it seemed to be a bit of a lull, a bit, you know, sparse in the layering and the synth lines and what have you, but almost seemed like that was a purposeful thing as well. Probably bridges into this song, into a holistically realized counterpoint or some bullshit, you know what I mean? Damn. I can definitely see why this is called keyed out. I feel like a key is just scratching against cars and chalkboard right now, you know? Futuristic chalkboards anyway. Love this plotting little percussive element in the back here. Now this is a track where I feel like it's actually building to something. Like a lot of these textures, I feel like it's going someplace. It's interesting with this track, I love the way that it built for the first 5 minutes there, but it sort of stopped and then restarted here, and now it's sort of just mellowing out, sort of like waves at the beach. Oh, this is a nice texture though. Yeah. This violin's beautiful, man. These textures right here in the back end are really saving this back end entirely for me, with just how gorgeous that violin was, and also that fucking deeply throated fucking woodwind thing going on here. I don't know exactly what it is, but it just sounds gorgeous, man. I like where this is going, hey. Here again is another example of these bright, clattering sort of synth lines here. I feel like there could be a little more diversity with these synth lines. I feel like I've heard this a couple times already in the album. Tell you what, again, when they bring back these Eastern elements and this kind of percussive work, I am just straight fucking in there, man. I'm fucking loving it. Definitely underused. Even these water textures and how they just sort of come in so slight like that, man. Like... so interesting with Tim Hecker and how he uses all of these eerie textures and how they sort of whirl and sort of shatter and bloody. They're like glassy all the time and just crystalline and that kind of thing. I mean, it gives it such a strange, unique quality. Yeah, see, especially with this song, I mean, I feel like I've been listening to these whirling synth lines for like, I don't know, a long time, honestly. I feel like it's gone a little too long. There you go, boys. That's the fucking album done. So yeah, where to start? I mean, I thought this was fascinating, honestly. I am a little conflicted, I guess you could say, but you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, I suppose with this form of music, sometimes labeled as IDM or whatever, I'm always skeptical going in because of how sterile the genre can be. There's also a tendency, I feel like, for a lot of artists to fall in a trap of wedging out an onslaught of nebulous nothings, you know, just very indulgent in a way, and the listener can sort of get lost. But here, even though I do feel like it displays hints of indulgence and drawn out song structures, the sheer quality and organic way of bridging transitions and mutually compatible textures together is unparalleled and makes this such a unique and fairly gratifying listen. Tim Hecker here displays such a naturally evolving way of building songs and textures. It makes the soundscapes here feel so organic, and it succeeds not just in setting moods and painting pictures with the subtle layering, but also in keeping one or two main textures as a main melodic focal point to keep you hooked into the structure and weight of the song. Take Heat Out as just one example of that, where the plodding, almost Kraftwerk-esque synth line looping is matched to these bongos that sort of simper behind in this delectable off-time pattern. Yet the balance in the mix is still so nicely weighted. You never feel like you're drowning in cacophony, yet there is still no end to just how much is going on with the other burbling and bubbling synth lines, which almost act out as like bass lines in this song in particular. This makes the album feel like it's doing so much by doing so little, yet there is still so much attention to detail, of course. You can feel just just how meticulous every track here was constructed for all of the reasons already listed, but also in the consistency and compatibility in individual elements once pieced together. Ultimately though, as this album did wear on, I did start to develop a couple gripes, because even though it succeeds with flying colors in setting moods and creating soundscapes that make you feel like you're living a couple thousand years in the future, it crucially for me lacks rhythms and those sort of deep house beats that give this subgenre more weight and musicality. I understand at the end of the day that that's not exactly what the album is setting out to do, and I really do appreciate and get lost in the mood pieces despite that. But I feel like this kind of minimalism would feel even more evocative if there were just a couple more counterpoints with some kind of punchiness or drive uncorking itself at the end of some of these longer tracks most especially. But as a general rule, this album too often builds towards nothing and doesn't have quite enough of that throttling structure to pull you in like music is generally designed to do. At the end of the day, it is interesting to see how this dynamic works in this album, because I can see one person absolutely adoring this for just the way it is, and I can imagine myself loving this in certain contexts, but yeah, just more weight here and there would have given a lot of these songs more meaning and more impact for me. Another quality I don't particularly enjoy is the overuse in the bright, looping, clattering synth lines that color this life keyed out and in Death Valley as just some examples, as well as some of the more whirling, ethereal ones that build and whistle out, especially on the closer. And yet there is to me a very real underuse of the Eastern sounding instrumentation and that plodding percussive work that I really, really love, because as soon as that shit comes on, I feel like the tracks here just have that final layer and dynamic range that I pine for. But see, it sort of just gets drowned out and replaced by those sort of mechanical dolphins unsuccessfully having an orgy. And I mean the synth lines, you know? That's what some of them sound like. Also, some of the songs and individual passages I feel like go on a minute too long here and there, and I think on the whole the album could have been cut down by at least 5 minutes. Especially the closer, I mean, that could have been chopped down to about, like, I don't know, 7 minutes, I reckon. Yet, I also understand why they aren't chopped down like that, because the flow is so smooth and organic and natural, like I was saying, that I think to chop it up might just ruin it in a way, despite the lack of body that I feel mars the music in those passages in particular. I mean, the fact that this kind of music isn't really even my thing, and it still has me drawn in and connected to the moods created, just shows how much of a mastery Tim Hecker has over his songwriting. And you know, you could just chuck this on to a good warm firelit night, I feel like. And I still really do appreciate this for what it is and what it sets out to do. There's just undeniable quality and effort, and you can feel that in pretty much every song here. I can only imagine how hard it would be to achieve and feel happy with. Yeah boys, the battery ran out of my phone, so this is just my webcam as a replacement, and I'll just chuck this a cheeky 3.7 out of 5. I mean, I'm definitely conflicted, but at the end of the day, I really do enjoy this for what it is, despite some of my expectations. And also, the song names are cool as fuck, bro. They're cool as fuck. Yeah, boys, that's the reaction slash review. Too easy. I actually got to run off to work. I'm running late. But there you go. If you really did enjoy this, let me know. Leave a comment, leave a like, that kind of thing. It really helps me, and I do spend a lot of time on these, so thank you very much. I appreciate the lot of you, and just have a good one, mate. Just have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one, mate. Wow!